I'm Gemma, this is Non-Fic Books, and this is my roundup for Non-Fiction November 2015. It was an all-over-the-shop sort of month, both reading and life-wise, because the books went from really, really bad through to one of my favourite books now, and then the month started off well personally, but then family ended up really, really not very well by the end of it, but I'm back because it looks like everyone is going to be okay, so overall, quite glad November's over, but non-fiction books, very, very happy to have been reading them this month. The first one was my history pick, and that was Lucy Moore's Anything Goes, a biography of the Roaring Twenties, and this was rubbish. It was such a shame that it was my first book, but at least it's history, and history is one of my all-time favourite things to read about, so it's not going to put me off reading history. And that is certainly a piece of advice. Just because you don't like one book doesn't mean that you don't like non-fiction. There is non-fiction out there for everyone. It is just probably the broadest category of books that there is. So don't be put off, and don't read this book either. It was all over the shop. Her history was rather biased. There wasn't a good flow through the chapters. And yeah, overall, not great, sadly. The next book, thankfully, picked up dramatically, and this was my Culture and Society pick, and that was Michael Booth's The Almost Nearly Perfect People, behind the myth of the Scandinavian Utopia. And Michael Booth has previously been a food writer, but he's British with a Danish, I believe, wife, and he's lived in Denmark for quite a long time on and off. So it's a really interesting perspective because he's an outsider but very familiar with these countries, and that's a really nice sort of dual way of approaching it. It's not just someone that has been there like for a 2-month holiday or something to write a book about them. And I thought this was really entertaining, very funny. He is obviously in love with these countries. He really does appreciate them. He has a lot of good to say, but he doesn't like the rose-tinted glasses and everything's all about Hugo and fabulous all of the time. And it was brilliant. And if I were to recommend people pick up any book out of all of the books that I read this month, this would be the book that I think most people would enjoy. Oh, too much signiness, but there we go. It's really, really good. So yes, if you're wondering which book to pick up, if you're going to pick up any, that's probably the one I'd recommend to most people. My personal favourite, however, was Susan Hill's The Magic Apple Tree, A Country Year. I love Susan Hill. Yeah, there's not too much more I can say about that. I am a huge, huge fan of her non-fiction writing. Howard's End is on the Landing. It's fabulous, and that's her bookish memoir, and this is about living in the countryside for a year. And oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. It follows her and the village and the countryside in which she lives through a year, and it is discussing the animals, the festivals, the way nature changes, different observations throughout the year. It's a slow reading book, and I love it. But I think this is going to be like Marmite, so if it doesn't sound like your thing, really don't pick it up. If it does, it is beautiful, and I highly recommend it if you like slow reading, nature-based books. I, for one, love it so much that this lovely second-hand copy that is falling to pieces is hopefully going to be replaced at Christmas with the hardback, which is the only way you can now buy it new, which may or may not have been sent to my husband as a suggestion for what to buy me for Christmas. And then my final pick was not disappointing, but disappointing myself because I didn't get around to finishing it because of everything that went on with my family. And this is my Science and Nature pick, and I actually have two, and I'll tell you why in a minute. The one that I originally was intending to reading and have started is The End of Night by Paul Bogard, and this is all about artificial light and how damaging it is for animals and humans to have nighttime so lit up as we do now, and how we should actually go back and try and protect our darkness, because it does the whole world a very large amount of good. And I'm about 50 pages so far, and I think it's wonderful. Just because it's taking me a while to read it says nothing about the quality of it. It's fabulous. I just haven't had much time to read at the moment. But when I went to see my mother-in-law at her farm, this book got left in the car and locked while they went for a walk, and I was chilling out around the house. And so I raided her books, and this was the one that I came across that I've wanted to read for quite a while, so I thought I'd give it a go. And that's Richard Mabey's Weeds. And Richard Mabey's very, very famous in the sort of natural history, plants sort of writing. And so far, this is highly entertaining. I've never read any of his books before. I can't remember what his magnum opus is called, but that's the one that I will definitely be picking up after this because it's been hugely recommended to me. And this is all about weeds, what we define as weeds, why we view them as a problem, and a bit of a history about some of the main weeds that we view as a problem in this country. And it's really, really good. Again, like End of Night, I am about 50 pages through both of them, so I will hopefully finish them both in December. But I'll probably try and get through this one first, just because it's not my book, so I can give it back then. So overall, Non-Fiction November was pretty good. Highs and lows across the board, but overall, I thought I had fun anyway, so I hope anyone else who got involved with Non-Fiction November had fun too, and that if anyone has picked up even one book of non-fiction they wouldn't have read before, I'm really, really happy about that. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and I'd love to know down below what was your favourite book that you read for Non-Fiction November. Even if you haven't finished it, if you're loving it, let me know about it, because always, I mean, not that I don't have enough books anyway, but books, always happy to know about more. So, yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed Non-Fiction November. It's sad to see it go, but every month's non-fiction for me anyway. And hopefully I will see you in a video soon. Bye!